Welcome to the mountains of Jurong and Maoshang, where the culture of Confucian Buddhism and Taoism meet in harmony. But today, that all takes a back seat as the Queen stage of the Tour of Taihu Lake sees the battle for orange take place in Jurong. Let's now take a look at the course map for the 7 days of racing in the 2019 edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Started with the opening prologue, then stages 1, 2, 3 and 4, all days for the sprinters. Flat stages, perfect road conditions, fast speeds of 48 kilometres per hour, bringing us to stage 5 and the day in the mountains. Stage 6, it all concludes tomorrow, another opportunity for the fast men. Let's now take a look back at what has happened so far in this year's race. It all kicked off with the opening prologue, 5.5 kilometres. Boris Valet returning as the defending champion, but the man who won the stage 1 year ago, Dylan Kennett, was amongst the early starters. The Kiwi was blistering around the course in a time of 6 minutes and 9 seconds, right on par with his performance from 2018, an average speed of more than 53 kilometres per hour. Oscar Sevilla was then one of the next riders to start, the oldest man in the race at 43 years of age, but still world class and incredibly quick. Fourth on the stage in the end, a thumbs up from Kennett as he watched some of the pre-stage favourites see if they could better his time. Matthias Brandl, the 5-time Austrian national champion, he got the better of the Kiwi by 2 seconds. The last to start, Boris Valet, right on par with where he was a year ago, in fact 1 second quicker. 13 seconds off the stage victory, but in contention for the overall classification. Brandl winning the stage ahead of Kennett and then Vink in third. Stage 1, the circuit race around Wuji Binhu, 88.8 kilometres. The festivities at the start, it was a big celebration, a big day for the locals. As soon as the gun went, it was the riders from some of the Chinese teams who were immediately on the attack. But as they got down towards the business end of the race, it was the former Colombian national champion, Weimar Roldan, who got the biggest lead of the stage, out to an advantage of 37 seconds. But not even that was enough. A little bit of yoga before he was back in the peloton. The sprinters were battling for position, and with 1,200 metres remaining, a big fall in the main peloton. Surprisingly, no one was seriously injured. As the pre-stage favourites were rubbing shoulders, Dylan Kennett slotted himself in a second position. He was on the wheel of Marco Benfato. They came together on the line. It was a photo to separate them, and it was the Italian in the end who got the nod by the narrowest of margins. Benfato winning the stage, Kennett in second, Jones rounding out the top three. For Kennett, the time bonuses moving him into the race leader's orange jersey. Stage 2 and a circuit race on this occasion, once again under ideal conditions, flat road surface and perfect weather, but for the Hong Kong rider of Tao, it wasn't so good. The first right-hand turn of the day, he crashed, he remounted, he chased, but he was unable to rejoin the peloton. By the midway point, he was out. Breakaway group of 3, amongst them Emil Zakarai from the Malaysian Sapura team. He was awarded the most combative prize by the end of the stage. But despite the leading trio hitting speeds of 70 kilometres per hour on the flats, they were unable to hold off the sprinters. And at the front, it was the Androni team yet again, but instead of it being Benfato, this time it was Matteo Paolucci who took stage honours clearly as Emerio Chima came undone, sliding across the line for 11th position. Miraculously, nobody else crashed and his glasses survived. Another second place finish for Dylan Kennett, holding on to the race lead. It was Mikael Ram, the Estonian from Israel Cycling Academy, in third spot. Stage 3 took the race through to Changqing, and there was plenty of music at the start before the race got underway. The Colombians certainly enjoyed the atmosphere from the Medellin team. They were also aggressive once again right at the very start as the pace was on. The average speed by the end of the stage was more than 48 kilometres per hour. Amongst the breakaway, the rider from the Czech Republic, Daniel Čurik from Israel Cycling Academy, picked up one of the intermediate time bonuses, but at Bell Lap, the break was just about cooked. They were reeled back in. They gave each other a shake of the hands. They then got out of the way for what was a frantic sprint finish. The St. George Continental team, they did all they could to put Dylan Kennett into a strong position. Blake Quick provided the last opportunity for a lead out. The road then opened up. Kennett snuck through up the right-hand side and then by the narrowest of margins converted 3 second-place finishes into a victory, and he was delighted. Ram was second. It was Rigugu in third spots.
Awesome to pull off the winner. It's getting a little bit frustrating getting second every day, but and the boys rode the front literally from the gun, you know, to that finish. I actually said to them afterwards, I said, "See, patience paid off there." So yeah, it's amazing to get a win like that.
Stage 4, it was the New City Circuit race. The green jersey sitting on the shoulders of last year's winner Boris Valet, but having the green jersey for the points classification on loan from Dylan Kennett. The overall race leader wearing orange also leads the points classification. The red jersey with Bai Ling Jun, the best Chinese rider. As a breakaway group of 4 formed with 3 laps remaining, they got themselves out to an advantage of 1 minute and 31 seconds. It was St. George on the front doing the lion's share of the chasing, with some support coming from Androni Giacottolo. It came down to a bunch sprint finish once again, and the Italians, they stole the show. It was Paolucci making it stage win number 2 for him, number 3 for the team. Ben Fato was in second spot. Mikael Ram was third.
Yeah, it was all day really high speed. We tried to control the dangerous breakaway. In the end, one breakaway like 5 riders go, and we control with the other teams, with the team of the leader. And in the end, we have a sprint, so we do what we plan. So we are happy.
And in the general classification, Dylan Kennett, he now leads by 27 seconds ahead of Matthias Brandl. Mikael Ram is in third spot at 29 seconds. Last year winners Boris Valet is in 4th place. The Buddha sits calmly over the peloton for stage 5. Let's now hear from some of the pre-stage contenders. We've got the opening ceremony before we catch up with some of the pre-stage contenders, and it's some of the local culture with some of the dancing from dancers of all ages. It's been one of the delights of this race right throughout its 10-year history to get a flavour of the cultures of each of the regions in which the race goes to. We've seen some of the younger dancers, some of the more experienced dancers, and some of the martial arts have been put on display as well, along with the music. And then after that has all been done, it's over to the riders' sign-on and a chance to meet some of the contenders to take out the stage. The Sapura team, they're optimistic, always aggressive, but not much pressure on their shoulders. This is Bai Ling Jun, the rider in the red jersey, the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. He's optimistic, perhaps, about his chances of being able to hold on to that jersey. This is Oscar Sevilla from the Medellin team, the Colombian squad. They've been aggressive so far. They'll prefer the terrain today by comparison to what they've had on the first 4 stages. St. George Continental, they have the overall race leader, Dylan Kennett. On this corresponding stage last year, he conceded 39 seconds. Will he be stronger in 2019? Over the next couple of hours, we're about to find out. The team does have an additional card to play. Look out for number 165, Michael Vink. He sits at 35 seconds down overall and is a strong climber. Nervous moments for Dylan Kennett wearing the orange jersey, as he has done since the conclusion of stage 1. Delco Marseille no longer focused on 35 Jones, the sprinter. It's now 36 Remy Rocher, who will be their main target today. He was super aggressive in this corresponding stage 1 year ago. He is the smaller figure in the middle of the picture. He's all smiles. He's looking fairly relaxed. He sits at 55 seconds behind the orange jersey. A stage victory will be his target. This is Matteo Paolucci, 2 stage wins already and well placed in the overall standings. He sits at 47 seconds behind. He's ridden with some of the biggest teams in the world, including the Bora Hansgrohe team. Let's see how he handles the mountains today. Israel Cycling Academy, they are well placed with 3 riders inside the top 10 in the general classification, including the winner of the opening prologue at number 42, Matthias Brandl, who is in 2nd position. He finds himself just 27 seconds behind the orange jersey. At number 3, Boris Voulay, the last man to sign on, the defending champion. Can he get the job done again today? Let's now hear from some of the pre-stage favourites.
今天主要难点就是在这个公园那个，主要是3圈嘛。我原本在那个3圈，要是位置靠前一点的话，我看今天表现应该没什么太大的问题。
Hoy una etapa buena para mi equipo, para el Team Medellín. Creo que la única que nos viene bien para los escaladores y esperamos hacer una buena carrera. Esperamos atacar, ser un equipo que dé guerra y, por qué no, conseguir algo bueno.
I was coming last year more strong than this year. This year was many races at the end of the season. I'm feeling tired, but I'm going to fight in the end.
The team goal is at least try to keep it or move up for the 1st and 2nd GC, because also we know that the leader jersey, he's not very good climber. We also dropped him in this climb last year. So we will try to do this, but there is also option with the team Medellin. There are guys from Colombia, all of them good in climb, so we expect that they will go hard in the climb, so there will be some big selection today, so it will change the GC a lot today.
Well, yeah, today's the day that's going to decide the tour. It's pretty breezy, which is not ideal if you're leading the tour, but it's all going to come down to today, and hopefully I can have a bit of a soft run into the hill would be nice. I'd back myself if it was just the climb, but it's a hard running and stuff, so the boys are going to have a big day, especially with the wind picking up for the first day of the tour, really. So, we'll see how it goes, but I'm feeling strong, so hopefully the bigger teams help us out a bit as well, yeah.
Here's what confronts Dylan Kennett and the rest of Peloton for Stage 5, 121.5 kilometres as they head through from Jurong to Malchan, and it starts relatively flat like the first 4 stages of the race. They go through the opening intermediate sprint after 22.6 kilometres, the second one at 54.2 kilometres, and then it's onto the climbs. The first climb then heads them in towards the first look at the finish line before they do the major climb of the day and then descend down to the finish line itself. That is the part of the course that provides the opportunity for some and the challenge for others. This is a look back at Jurong for the stage start as the local officials and the dignitaries welcome the Peloton to be able to get the stage underway. The gun going to get them started. The leaders of the various classifications are all being welcomed at the very front of the peloton. The red jersey being worn by the leader of the Chinese classification, that is Bei Lingjun. The orange jersey with Dylan Kennett, who we heard from just at the end of that segment of interviews. Kennett, incidentally, he also leads the race for the green jersey, the points classification. But that's being worn on loan today by Matteo Paolucci, the Italian rider from Androni Giocattoli, who's won 2 stages. And there he is in the centre of the picture. The blue jersey for the best young rider, that is with the Italian Emerio Cima, and he leads by just 1 second ahead of Blake Quick, who also rides for St. George Continental, just as Dylan Kennett does. In 3rd position in that classification is Itamar Einhorn at 6 seconds behind. Key parts of the stage day are the intermediate sprints. The first of the intermediate sprints has been contested already. We'll bring you those results in just a moment. There was a brief neutral section throughout the stage today before the flag came in to get the racing underway, and it didn't take long before we saw a breakaway group of 6 get formed off the front. Amongst the riders in the leading group of 6, Sam Brand is the best placed. Let's now take a look at the first of the intermediate sprints. We will take a look at that intermediate sprint in just a couple of moments as we take a look back here at the peloton, making their way past the lead vehicle. Lots of riders anxious to try and get themselves into the breakaway. This is so often the case when we have the neutral section. They do tend to overtake the lead vehicle before they get themselves into the breakaway. A lot of the riders that aren't fancied to be able to get over the climb at the end of the stage, they get the clear instruction from the team, get yourself into the breakaway. And you can see the riders in the pink and black colours with the blue shoes on from St George Continental. They are policing the front of the peloton so they can mark any of the riders who do go into the breakaway and make the call, that guy's too dangerous, we close it down. You're okay, you're allowed to move. Israel Cycling Academy in the blue and white colours, also riding up towards the front. They're in a strong position in the general classification with 3 riders inside the top 10. They're in the neutral zone at the moment. They've just rolled out from the virtual start. They're sitting behind the lead vehicle, and then when the flag drops, that is when they hit kilometre 0 and the race is officially underway. This is so often the case in tours, also in one-day races, as they make their way out of the centre of town to ensure that they're onto slightly safer roads before they get the racing started. At the back of the peloton is where the riders sit that aren't showing any interest of getting into the early breakaways. Riders in the pink and blue colours at the front, the Minx team. This is the team from Belarus. Predominantly riders from Belarus in this team, along with 2 Russians. One of them, the former Russian national champion, Eduard Volganov, who spent a number of years riding for the Katusha team. They've made their way around that right-hand turn, and this is the race getting underway, and the breakaway starting to form immediately. That was Wang going off the front from the Hingzhang cycling team. Pretty quickly joined by the rider with the red shoes and the blue colours on from the Novo Nordisk team. That's Sam Brand of the Isle of Man, who's going across to make sure that he gets on terms with the breakaway. And no big reaction coming from the main peloton. They're fairly content with that composition of the breakaway. This is Zefing Village that we now get a chance to take a look at. Wooden grass and fruit products, the main business of this village, and it produces a lot of revenue for the local people and plenty of employment as well, and it is a beautiful area to be able to travel through. White colours also making contact at the back of this group. This is Snurko. He's one of the teammates of Bei Lingjin, who happens to be the leader of the Chinese rider classification. Sam Brand is the rider at the front. He's the best placed to overall, sitting at 52 seconds behind the orange jersey. Two more riders scurrying across to the breakaway. The blue colours that you can see trying to come across to this breakaway group. This is from the Kunbal team. This is Yer Tingalel. This is a team that has been ever aggressive. They were the team that launched the first attack of this year's race, in fact, on stage 1. So good to see them getting themselves into one of the major breakaways. Mazur is the other rider who is there. Number 136 in the blue and pink colours from the Minsk squad. One of the young riders on that team. He's what is known as a stagiaire, which is a long format 3-month interview to see whether they think that that guy can fit into the team for the following season. Based on the way he's been racing so far with this team throughout this race, I'd anticipate that it'll get picked up for season 2020. Number 2, that's Wesley Creder sitting down at the back of the peloton. Just in front of him is Kevin Van Melsen. Both of these guys were part of the Wanty Group Goubert team in this race last year, where Boris Volet ended up winning the general classification. And on this very same stage, which was on stage 2 last year as opposed to stage 5, it was only Boris Valet from that team who survived the climb. He was completely isolated. He finished second on the stage, but it was crucial to him being able to win the race overall. Sam Brand from Novo Nordisk now rolling through to the front. St. George Continental, the team that's riding at the front. They've got 2 riders at the front setting the tempo. As has been the case right throughout this race, the man that's been doing the lion's share of the chase in early has been Tom Hubbard. And they've been saving the likes of Blake Quick to assist with the lead out in the sprints for Dylan Kennett, who is the current overall race leader. This group so far working well together and extending their advantage. 2 intermediate sprints on the stage today. The first one coming with 95 kilometres remaining. The second one at 67.5 Ks to go. Stage 5 of the Tour of Taihu Lake. This is the Queen stage of the race. They make their way from Jurong. They're heading through to Manshao, and it is a stage where they go past the Big Buddha. It's a nice peaceful setting. Beautiful surrounds the lush green rolling hills. However, all that peace and tranquility is about to be upset by the battle for the orange jersey. Breakaway group of 6 riders now out to an advantage of 3 minutes and 9 seconds. The rider in the blue colours on the left-hand side of the screen with the red shoes on, that's Sam Brand. He is the best placed in the general classification from this group. He started the day at just 52 seconds behind the orange jersey of Dylan Kennett. So he is the virtual race leader on the road. But the big favourites, they're still back in the main peloton, and they're waiting for the major climb to come at the end of today's stage. Over the past couple of years, this has proven to be the decisive stage of the race. The riders that you can see in the light blue and white colours now towards the front of the peloton. In fact, there's just one rider from that team at the very front of the peloton. A few more sitting a little deeper in the main field. That's the Israel Cycling Academy team. They're in a very strong position. They have 3 riders inside the top 10. In fact, they have 2 riders inside the top 3. They have Matthias Brandl in 2nd position overall at 27 seconds behind, and Mikael Ram in 3rd place at 29 seconds behind. At the front of the race, there's a little bit of breaking up as they start to attack each other. Looks like Huang is gone forward on his own, but the best chance this breakaway has of surviving is by simply staying together. They're now rapidly charging down towards the second of the intermediate sprint, so that is causing a little bit of the breakup. They've been through 1 sprint already. Nazir, the Belarusian from the Minx team, he was the winner of that opening intermediate sprint. Schnurko was in 2nd position, and here is the winner of the first sprint. This is Mazur, the 19-year-old. He makes it 2 in a row, so he collects another 3-second time bonus, and importantly, he collects himself another 5 points in the race for the green jersey. The challenge now for this breakaway group, given they've got a 3-minute time advantage, is to get themselves reorganised. All smiles are on the face of the winner of that intermediate sprint. Schnurko was the rider that he was looking to in the white colours and having a little bit of a laugh. They're both Belarusian, 2 riders from that country in the breakaway enjoying each other's company. And this is a look at the first of the intermediate sprints. It's Schnurko in the white colours doing the lead out, as Mazur it is that goes over the top and collects that intermediate sprint quite easily. And Wang it was who was in third position, collecting 1 second and 1 point in the race for the green jersey. In the lead up to that intermediate sprint, the rider in the white colours, Alexei Schnurko, he spent a long time sitting at the back of the group and not participating, not assisting with any of the pacemaking at all. Jonas Snell, Marzu collecting those points there once again. And the Peloton still at around about 3 minutes behind. We'll get a more accurate time check when they do make their way through that intermediate sprint point. But a bit more urgency starting to appear in the main peloton now. The orange colours that you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, that is the Nippo Vini Fantini team. They're interested in protecting the blue jersey, which is the lead in the Best Young Rider classification. Emilio Cima is the leader of that competition. He has just a 1 second advantage over his nearest rival, which is Blake Quick, and a 6 second advantage to Itmar Einhorn of Israel Cycling Academy. That will be a tough battle for Emilio Cima. Last year on this stage, Cima, he made it through to the finish with the leading group, but this year he finished stage 2 on his backside. He crashed with roughly 25 metres to go, slid across the finish line in 11th position, and it didn't look like a super severe fall, but every little crash catches up with you ever so slightly. Every tour is a race of conservation. He'll have lost a little bit of sleep each night. The body's spending time repairing from the damage of the fall as opposed to just repairing from the effort of the race. And that could be the difference in 2019 for Emilio Cima. Either way, we're about to find out. Tom Hubbard still the man at the front for St. George Continental as they head through the intermediate sprint points. Far greater sense of urgency about it now, the peloton, by comparison to the previous few days at the 65 kilometre to go mark. And that breakaway group is looking a little dangerous. It may well have been reduced from 6 down to 5 riders. It looked as if at the back of that group, Yi from the Kunbao team was under a bit of pressure and might have been dropped from that breakaway group. Still Hubbard doing the lion's share of the pacemaking at the front of the main peloton. As they're about to make the left-hand turn onto the main road and through the finish line, heading in the opposite direction to which they will be coming when the stage actually finishes. So they're through the intermediate sprint and they're still at 3 minutes behind the breakaway group. You can see by the flags, for the first time, the flags are fluttering. Up until this point in the race, every single stage, there has not been a breath of wind. And hearing from Dylan Kennett before the start of the stage, he spoke about the wind and that potentially making today's stage even more difficult. Ironically for Dylan, if it had have been windy on the previous few stages, I think that would have worked to his advantage. Could have used his team, caused a few more problems for some of the climbers, and given himself a bigger buffer coming in today's stage. But on this occasion, that wind might well work against him. So far though, the team is doing everything right to keep him at the front of the race and out of trouble and in contention. He's got a good lead to try and hold on to. This is the Jurong Road that they're now making their way along. They build up to 365 kilometres worth of blessing path with green, yellow and blue lines that you can see running down the middle of them to separate the traffic. The green symbolises the forest in the mountains. The blue means the clean water and the yellow means blessing. And the road surfaces throughout this region in Jurong are absolutely outstanding. It's been one of the things that a lot of the riders have spoken about has been the quality of the infrastructure throughout the Tour of Taihu Lake, and this is a prime example of it. really is ironic that we're in the most peaceful setting of this year's race, and it is the day where the big decisions will be made, and we're likely to see the most aggressive racing. It is the region where the cultures of Confucian, Buddhism and Taoism all come together, and the people in the village, they believe they are blessed by the natural resources that we can see for ourselves, along with their ancestors' wisdom, which they inherit and is passed down throughout the generations. Now once again, it's a breakaway group of 6, so the rider that looked as if he had been dropped for a little while, from Gunbal in the blue colours with a little bit of pink handlebar tape, sitting in second last position, he has rejoined this group. There was one rider from the Giant team that was in all sorts of difficulty at the back of the peloton. He might have had a mechanical problem that he was trying to recuperate from. Here's another chance to take a look at the lines that separate the traffic on this road. Green symbolising the forest and the mountains, the blue for the clear water that runs through, and the yellow meaning blessing. Number 71, Sam Brand from the Isle of Man. Sam rode the Commonwealth Games last year. He rode the individual time trial in the Gold Coast, where he finished in 22nd position. Number 143, this is Alexei Shnurko. He's done quite a bit of racing in China throughout season 2019. A 4th place finish on a stage of the Tour of China 1. That was amongst his best results so far this year. But the main role that he has played for the team, the Ningxia team, has been to look after other riders on the squad, in particular Georges Bouglas, their Greek sprinter, and in this race to protect the leader of the best Chinese rider, Bei Lingjun. They just got the board off to the side of the road, indicating to them that they have an advantage now of 3 minutes over the peloton. It has slowly been reduced back down towards the 2-minute and 50-second mark. And the riders out in that breakaway group of 6, well, they're encouraged. They keep talking to each other. Let's roll. We're in with a chance. This is Yuval Ben Mosh in the blue and white colours that's doing the pacemaking at the front. He's sharing the work with Tom Hubbard, I should say. So no great panic as yet from some of the other teams that we expect to light up the action once we do get on to the base of the climb for the first time. 2 laps around the circuit that includes the major climb and the big challenge in this year's race. As the peloton, they just get the time check to this leading group. Number 136, he's collected 2 of the intermediate sprints so far, so that's 6 seconds worth of time bonuses. Stage 5 of the Tour of Taihu Lake, the breakaway group of 6, they're working well together. Their advantage is slowly being reduced. It's now down to 2 minutes and 35 seconds. At one point, it was out to 3 minutes and 6 seconds. It's the biggest advantage we've seen any group be able to establish throughout this year's race. And the man in the navy blue colours with the red shoes on from the Isle of Man, Sam Brand, he is the virtual race leader on the road. From this breakaway group, he was the best placed in the general classification, starting the day at 52 seconds behind in 25th position in the overall standings. There he is at the back of the group in the colours of the Novo Nordisk team. The team where all the riders on this squad have type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 10. He's in his second season with the team. He also spent some time with the development squad and also raced as an elite triathlete. In fact, he represented Great Britain at the ITU World Championships, the International Triathlon Union World Championships, back in 2013. And he represented the Isle of Man at the Commonwealth Games last year, where he finished in 22nd position in the individual time trial. Today's been the stage where we've seen the most wind of any stages throughout this year's race. And for the sprinters, they would have liked that wind on some of the flatter stages. That would have given them the opportunity to put a few of the climbers under a bit of pressure. But today, it's the sprinters who will be feeling the pressure of the climbers. One of the riders that we spoke to before the stage got started was the 43-year-old Spaniard, Oscar Sevilla, who's been pretty aggressive already throughout the race. He hasn't been able to take any time on the likes of Dylan Kennett or Boris Valet so far. In fact, he's been losing ground on those guys who have been picking up placings. Kennett himself winning a stage, getting the time bonuses. Today is the only opportunity for Oscar Sevilla if he is to win this race overall. As for the Israel Cycling Academy team, they got off to a perfect start on the opening day. That's the team leading the peloton on the right-hand screen. It was Matthias Brandl who won the opening prologue. He was 2 seconds quicker than Dylan Kennett, who replicated his time from last year almost to within the 100th of a second. Both of those riders doing more than 53 kilometres per hour, their average speed across the 5.5 kilometre opening prologue. Now head and shoulders above the rest. They still sit in first and second position in the general classification. Matthias Brandl is at 27 seconds behind. Brandl had a mechanical problem a little bit earlier on, and as he was making his way back up through the team cars, he stopped for a chat with his sports director. And on the back of that chat, we saw one of the riders from the Israel Cycling Academy team come to the front and assist with the chasing. Clearly, Brandl is a little worried about this breakaway group of 6. You see the rider in the purple colours on the left-hand side of the screen, just almost right in the middle of the road. That is Angel Madrazo. He is a strong climber. This year he was a stage winner at the Volta de España. It was stage 4 that he won there. It was a mountaintop finish. It was a big mountain, a far bigger mountain than what we have on today's stage. Today's a hill, as opposed to the mountain that we saw at the Volta de España this year, in which he won. But it's a totally different style of climbing on today's hill by comparison to that type of mountain. It's a 4-minute effort, and it's much more of an explosive power climb as opposed to a pure mountain goats type of ascent throughout today's stage. As an indication, last year the bunch that made its way through to the finish was 38 riders strong, so it was a fairly big group that made it through to the finish of last year's stage when they went over the climb that they are scaling today. St. George Continental, along with Israel Cycling Academy at the front of the peloton. 56.2 kilometres remaining. The breakaway group of 6 still working well together and just on 2.5 minutes ahead of the main peloton. Let's now take a look at an incident a little earlier on with Matthias Brandl from Israel Cycling Academy. Brandel had a mechanical problem. This was at 90 kilometres to go, and he calmly just made his way back through the convoy of cars. He's a rider of great experience, former world hour record holder. And then that conversation took place. His team sports director just wanted to talk to Matthias Brandel about the road that was to come. It's a little bit tricky at twists and turns. Brandel changed the conversation really quickly. He said, but we're now 4 minutes behind and we have 3 guys in the top 10. Brandel clearly wanted to put one of the riders from his team up the front to assist with the chasing. And as soon as Matthias Brandel returned to the front of the peloton, one of his teammates in those white and blue colours started to assist with the chasing, and the breakaway's advantage is now down to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. What that tells us is that Matthias Brandel believes that he can still potentially win this race overall. He wants to claw back this breakaway group of 6. He wants to make the tempo tough as they head towards the base of the climb, and then it is all guns blazing the first and second time over the climb in the hope that they can distance the current race leader, Dylan Kennett. As for Dylan Kennett, he'll be well aware of the strategy that those other teams will be trying to adopt, and he just needs to work out whether he's got the legs to stick at the front of the race and hope that he can hold on and defend that orange jersey. What will be equally as interesting to watch is the tactics of St. George Continental. Do they have all the riders on that team stick with Dylan Kennett, or do they leave Michael Vink to fend for himself at the front of the race, given that Michael Vink, he's 5th place overall at 35 seconds behind, and if he stays at the front, well, he could potentially move into the orange jersey if Kennett is dropped. If, buts and maybes. It is the classic cliche of cycling. It is chess on wheels, and there's going to have to be some quick decisions made depending on the legs of the key leaders for the various teams. A few other teams now starting to negotiate their way towards the front as we head towards the base of the climb. Riders in the black colours on the left-hand side of the screen, that's the Mill Pro Cycling team. Their best placed rider in the overall standings is the Dutch sprinter, Roy Efting. He sits at 39 seconds down in the general classification, 6th position overall. I'm not sure how well Roy climbs and whether he'll be able to stick with the best climbers when they do go up this hill. And you can see the riders to the right-hand side of the screen. They're making the most of that little bit of footpath to try and improve their position at the front. They all want to be at the head of the peloton as the road narrows towards the base of the climb. This is the Stone Mill Bean Curd village that we now get a chance to take a look at. And the people here in this village, they manufacture bean curd and soy milk. They mash the bean by the traditional stone mill method, and the architecture for the village presents the simple lifestyle of the people in this village, and it is a lovely, peaceful little town. Bean curd also plays a significant role in Chinese cuisine, and at each of the hotels that we've stayed in, we've made the most of testing the various ways in which they make it and serve it up on a plate. Six riders out in front now. They'd be less optimistic than what they were 10 kilometres ago. Their advantage now down to just 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Two minutes and 20 seconds, that's all that remains of what was at one point almost a 4-minute advantage for the breakaway group of 6 riders. At the back of the peloton, Some just thinking about survival. At the front of the peloton, they're thinking about being in the best position possible. There's a fall on the right-hand side, and one of the riders from the Medellin team has gone down. So too from the Hong Kong cycling team. Number 112 who has hit the deck, that is Walter Vargas. Also falling is Ning Som Lu, who's a fair way down in the general classification. Vargas, however, number 112, he is pretty well placed overall at just 43 seconds behind. He's in 14th position in the general classification, so that's not good news for the Medellin team. And no time to wait for any of those riders, even the rider from the Colombian Medellin team. You can see his teammates on the left-hand side of the screen. They are not waiting. Even though he is pretty well placed overall, he's not the highest priority for that squad. In fact, they have two riders better placed than him in the overall standings. Most significantly, Oscar Sevilla, who sits in 7th position at 40 seconds behind. Blue jersey, the leader of the best young rider classification, he's on the right-hand side of the screen. He's just raised himself up out of the saddle, being slightly obscured by the big Latvian in the red and white colours, but Emilio Chima is riding positively. He's got himself towards the front in the best position he possibly can, starting the climb at the head of the race. The breakaway group of 6, they're on the lower slopes of the climb for the first time. Still working well together, desperately trying to defy the odds. This is Huang Wenbo, who is at the front. You can see number 136, Manzur, the winner of the 2 intermediate sprints. He's starting to pay the price. 2 minutes and 10 seconds their advantage. Stage 5, the Tour of Taihu Lake, and it is almost climb time. The Peloton, they're at 2 minutes and 3 seconds behind the breakaway group of 6 riders with 51.2 kilometres remaining, and the tension is starting to build. The weather conditions are ideal, the skies are clear, and the road surface is perfect. The breakaway, they're still rolling through together, but the tension in the peloton is palpable. So much so that there's been a little bit of a touch of wheels at the rear end of the field. On the right-hand side, one of the riders from the Medellin team has gone down. So too from the Hong Kong squad. The Colombian rider who crashed, that was Walter Vargas. And for the Hong Kong team, it was who went down. Vargas quickly picked himself up. No time to assess too much. Let his team mechanic know that he's on his way. His chain had just fallen off his bike. He was able to get that going fairly quickly. Now the peloton getting towards the lower slopes of the climb. You can see number 162 in the black and pink colours. That's Tom Hubbard. He's the rider who has been sitting on the front of the peloton virtually since kilometre 0, doing all the work he can, protecting the position of the overall race leader, Dylan Kennett. His job has just about been done for the day. They can't ask a whole lot more from Tom Hubbard. He has been a great workhorse for the team, Tom Hubbard. And it's at this point of the race that we expect to see the teams with strong climbers come towards the fore and light things up and put the sprinters under pressure. It is predominantly a big chain ring climb, meaning that they'll be using the big chain ring at the front of the bike, doing speeds of 30 plus kilometres per hour up most of this climb. Certainly that will be the case right at the very front of the race. We've seen the man who's won more stages than anybody else in this race in the past, Jakob Mareczko. A couple of times he's survived over this climb, and on other occasions he hasn't. Last year he was distanced, the year before he made it. It can be touch and go for the climbers, and the likes of Boris Fillet and Dylan Kennett, they'll be well aware of that history in this race. This is Huang, number 154, the Xinjiang squad. He's been doing a good job in this breakaway. So too is number 96, that is Wang. Number 71, that is Sam Brand. Hails from the Isle of Man, rides for the Novo Nordisk team. The team that is changing the understanding of type 1 diabetes. Doing really well, this group, to keep themselves together. You can see now the riders in this breakaway, they have moved down to the small chain ring. You can see at the front of the bike, it's no longer on that big chain ring at the front. They're in the small chain ring, pretty big sprocket at the back. That tells us how difficult this climb is. Their speed will be back down towards the low 20s, perhaps 22, 23 kilometers per hour. This is a pretty tough climb. This will really test the sprinters. And the concrete road surface, it just feels slower. Psychologically, it can be difficult to deal with. And little bumps in it as well, reminiscent of a lot of the roads that you see in the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium. Number 101, that is Yi, who's just drifting backwards. 21-year-old rider from China. He's yet to pick up a win in his career, at a professional level at least. This is the Zhilong Mountain Observation Deck, which is an ideal spot to come and take a look out across the fantastic mountains. It's about the best view you can get across the mountains in which the riders are charging their way through this afternoon. They won't be taking a left-hand turn to be able to stop and take a look from this observation deck, but for all the tourists that come through here, it is one of the most popular destinations. This is smart riding by the St. George Continental team. At this point, St. George Continental do not want to worry about chasing the breakaway. At this point, they want to ride a tempo that allows Dylan Kennett to stay in the peloton, but discourages others from attacking. It's a really fine balancing act. They need to ride to the legs of Dylan Kennett. Michael Vink is still here for the St. George Continental team, but I'm searching for that orange jersey. It looks as if Michael Vink could well have been given the green light by St. George Continental to do his own thing at the front of the race. But most of the peloton is still in contact, so you could pretty comfortably assume that Dylan Kennett is still there. As we look to the back of the race with Zhu being dropped from the Giant team. And Tom Hubbard is still in that group from St. George Continental. Number 155, this is Wang Junjian. You see the pedaling action on the right on the left-hand side of the screen. The white and the light blue colours with the 3/4 length sleeves. That's Dennis Van Windham. He's riding a really small gear. He shows that he's doing it quite comfortably, and he's still got plenty to go for him to be really full gas. It's when the rider starts to labour the gear a bit more that you can see that they are under some serious pressure. Madrazo is the rider on the left-hand side of the screen in the purple colours that looks like he might be getting itchy feet and contemplating being the first man to launch an attack. Still 48 kilometres to go. An attack at this point. He's just moving his way through. A little bit of a lean across the shoulder as the rider's being dropped off the back. Will just be fighting for survival. And it is Madrazo who is the first to attack. Not surprisingly, the man who won stage 4 at the Volta a España this year, the mountaintop finish, is the first to go as they hit the major climb of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Medellin, they're responding as well. The Minx team sitting here in second position in the pink colours. They have one rider in the breakaway, so they don't have to do too much of the pace-making at this point. It is Brennisau Samalau who's in second spot behind Madrazo. A chance to take a look at the observation deck as the breakaway group make their way past. Still plenty of climbing to come for the peloton. You can see how quickly the advantage for the breakaway group has been reduced. It's now down to just 45 seconds. And as a result of that, the race organisation, they've cleared out the vehicles behind the breakaway. The breakaway group, they're over the top of the climb. They now start the descent. Still out in front at this point, but they might have some more company with them fairly shortly. Madrazo might find that he's left his attack a little bit too late on that climb. It was just in the last 500 metres or so that he launched that attack, heading past the observation deck. The peloton's breathing down his neck, strung out in single file, but it looks like just about the entire field is still there. Past the Jurong Mountain observation deck. The breakaway group of 6 now down to just 36 seconds, despite the fact that it was a really negative climb, a surprisingly negative climb from the main peloton. I was expecting a lot more action on that climb by comparison to what we just saw. This group has done well. This is Madrazo. Just behind him is David Lozano from Novo Nordisk. And then it is Rocher, the young Frenchman from the Dalco Marseille team. We certainly did expect to see him in the thick of the action, and he hasn't disappointed. Emilio Cima has climbed well. So the Italian who crashed on stage 2 slid across the finish line on his backside to claim 11th position, has climbed right at the pointy end of the race. Madrazo remonstrating. He's got the hand signals. If you're going to come across and work. Doesn't want passengers, he wants engines. This is Charles Plenet now rolling through. Tahara is the next man to come through to the front for the Medellin team. He finds himself at 1 minute and 3 seconds down overall. This is Emilio Cima. 4 riders in this group from the Israel Cycling Academy team, including the man who's in second position in the general classification. 4th in line, now second position. Second position now as they come through to the front. That's Matthias Brandl, the winner of the opening prologue. He now goes through to the head of this group. They haven't built up much of an advantage, but they do have a little bit of a split. But not for long. Now down to just 15 seconds. How quickly an advantage can crumble on a climb. Well, this is bad news for 144, the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. Bei Lingjun, more noted as a sprinter, is paying the price for a difficult first 4 days and has now seen that jersey slip away. Calling for team help, but that is futile. They have one rider in the breakaway. They have Burglas, who will be hoping to hold on in this main group to try and win the stage. Unfortunately for Bei Lingjun, he'll be left to fend for himself. Stage 5, the Tour of Taihu Lake, and the breakaway group of 6. They've been brave, but they're about to be caught. At one point, they were out to a lead of more than 3 minutes. Still enough for Snurko in the white colours to find a smile, but it is all over for this small contingent. Just trying to defy the odds. This is Yi from the Gunbal team. Perhaps just hoping that by attacking the break as it's about to be caught, he'll be awarded the most combative prize and get his moment on the podium at the end of the stage. There's been a flurry of activity from the main peloton, with riders trying to force a split, seeing if they can put the orange jersey of Dylan Kennett under pressure. 32, that's Simon Carr in this group. Velosi is here. There's Kennett, the orange jersey. So to number 3, the defending champion, Boris Valet. Ryan Kavanagh is in the group, number 161. So too, Blake Quick has made it over the climb. So Quick has climbed brilliantly. Quick and Kennett, two of the fastest sprinters in the race, have ticked off the climb once. Can they tick it off twice? This is the attack that we all expected to come on the climb. This is Oscar Sevillier attacking with Matthias Brandl. Brandl, the time trial specialist. Sevillier, the climber. If these two can get any sort of breathing space, they'll be difficult to reel back in. Oscar looks across. He's not happy with the chase from behind. Matthias Brandl persists. Oscar Sevillier will be pretty happy to be riding with the Austrian. No, no. That's not going to work. Save your energy. We've got some more opportunities. He literally is the man of experience in this race, Oscar Sevillier, at 43 years of age. This is the big Buddha statue, which is just near the stage finish today. One of the major attractions, tourist attractions in this area, the Laoxing statue, 27 metres tall and made up of 365 pieces of granite. The statue was built in 1996 to commemorate Lao Xin, the founder of Taoism. It's the largest and heaviest statue to Lao Xin, and it weighs in at 106 tonnes. From a peloton of around 112 riders at the start of the race, it has been reduced somewhat, but it's still a fairly big group. 42.5 kilometres remaining on stage 5. Madrazo once again attacking off the front. Joseph Uruya of Rwanda, riding for the French team, Dalco Marseille, is with him. Two good riders for the breakaway. Both of them with reputations of never surrendering, never giving up. Arroyo, he rode the Paris-Roubaix race this year, the major one-day race on the calendar, the Hell of the North, and he wasn't classified as an official finisher, but he did go across the finish line. He was outside the time cutoff, but his attitude of, yeah, okay, I'm outside the time cutoff, but I am going to finish, speaks volumes of his character. As for the rider that he's with in the purple colours, Angel Madrazo, when he won stage 4 at the Volta de España this year, he was dropped 4 times before finally rejoining inside the last kilometre and going on to be able to win the stage ahead of his teammate Jetsa Bowl. Madrazo just checking across the shoulder to see if there's anybody else coming across. He'd be happy with 1 or 2 more, and he's just pointing to his back wheel. There must be one rider not too far away from joining them. And Madrazo is providing that encouragement. Come on, come across. And he just makes the statement here to Joseph Arroyo. We've got another one coming. Strength in numbers. A little slight pause would concede a couple of seconds, but it would give them an extra rider to be able to work with and increase their chances of being able to survive off the fronts. This is an incident from just a couple of moments ago at the back of the peloton. On the right-hand side is the former Greek national champion, Bouglas. He's doing a wheel change with the rider that was in the breakaway for that team, Schnurko. So Bouglas started the stage at 53 seconds down in the general classification. And for a sprinter, he climbs fairly well. So they're hoping that he can rejoin that group and put himself in contention for stage honours. 27th position overall, Georges Bouglas, but he will have a chase on his hands. Now this little breakaway group, it has caught the attention of the Israel Cycling Academy, but in addition to that, they're sensing perhaps just a little bit of vulnerability amongst the St. George Continental team. And even if they're not sensing vulnerability, it is their responsibility to attack Dylan Kennett and to attack St. George Continental. Because if they just ride this climb in the same manner that they did the previous time, Kennett will stay in orange. Even if they do attack him, the Kiwi might be able to defend. They have to go all in to see if they can get the better of the Kiwi sprinter. And just as the group of two became three, they surrender and they're reeled in by the main field. The last rider to go across to them, that was Wilmer Roldan, former Colombian national road champion. It was the rider that broke away on stage one that got himself out to an advantage of some 37 seconds. Arroyo is still off the front by himself for Delco Marseille. Current Rwandan national time trial champion. He won the Tour of Rwanda a couple of years ago. He's also been a winner of the Tropical Amisa Bongo. He won that race last year. He's been with the Delco Marseille team for around about a season and a half. And we're very impressed with his performance at the start of 2018, where they saw him win the Tropical Amisa Bongo. Quite sure what has happened with his bike here, because he's riding a Ridley bike. It's not the official team bike for the Delco Marseille team, so he may well have had a problem with his bike, so he's had to use one of the spare bikes, but it certainly is not one of the official team bikes. Delco Marseille, they ride white look bikes, and he's on a grey Ridley. And the Peloton, they're not worried about one rider off the front. They've backed off the tempo significantly. And again, this is good for Kennett. The fresher Kennett gets to the bottom of the climb the next time around, the more chance he's got of surviving over the top. He just goes into track individual pursuit mode, rides his own pace at threshold from bottom to top, and hopes that it's enough. Based on the way he rode the individual time trial, the opening prologue, the first day of racing in Rougy, it might well be. Number 32, this is Simon Carr at the back of the peloton for Delco Marseille. This is Arroyo, Joseph Arroyo out in front. The rider from Rwanda, as I mentioned a moment ago, on that grey Ridley bike, as opposed to the normal look bike that the Delco Marseille team rides. Team's best result so far in this year's race was third on stage one with Brenton Jones. The Minx team now on the attack. They had Mazur in the breakaway throughout the race earlier on. He picked up the two intermediate sprints. This looks like Edouard Vorganov. It is Edouard Vorganov, one of the experienced members of the squad. 36-year-old Russian who has been around for a long time. Former Russian national champion. He won that title back in 2012. Had a long stint with the Katusha team. team that next season is being taken over by Israel Cycling Academy. .37 kilometres remaining, and so far the orange jersey, Dylan Kennett, has his entire race lead in hand. He leads the race overall by 27 seconds ahead of Matthias Brandl. Brandl's teammate, Mikael Ram, is in third position at 29 seconds behind. It's then last year's race winner, Boris Vallet, in fourth position. Now, this is a slightly more serious reaction. Mathieu Vial is at the back of this group in the red and white colours. And number 36, that is Remy Rocher. He's a teammate of Joseph Aderuya, who is out in front from Delco Marseille. But this is the team's tactic. They want to get into the breakaway. They want to go on the charge. And Rocher, the diminutive French climber, he is their man to go on the move. So normally, number 36 you see here, with a teammate further up the road, you wouldn't expect to see him to be doing any of the chasing, but it was part of the plan. Put one rider in the breakaway, and then I will try and come across. That is now what they are doing. Likewise for the Minx team, they have Vorganov almost at the front of the race, and now they have their other experienced campaigner. This is Branislav Samalau, who is trying to go across. Just a 12-second advantage for these two ahead of the chasing group. And Vorganov, no sitting the wheel, straight through to the front. A clear message of intent. Let's work together. Well, the road is smooth, the region is picturesque, it's peaceful if you're here as a cyclo-tourist, but it is tough to be racing on. And the road, with the markings that you can see down the middle, as the breakaway group is about to become 5. The green, the yellow and the blue lines. The yellow for the blessings, the blue for the clear waters, and the green for the forest. Androni team with Vial looking for yet another stage victory. They've already won 3. Just on 35 kilometres remaining on stage 5 of the Tour of Taihu Lake, and a breakaway group of 5 is forming. Well, it's trying to form. Remy Rocher has just bridged across to his teammate Joseph Aderuya, and he's remonstrating with the riders behind him. Come on, guys, come across. Let's all work together. 2 riders from the Minx team at the back of the group, number 132. That's Eduard Vorganov, the former Russian national champion. Just in front of him, number 134, that is Branislav Samalau, who's ridden with some of the biggest teams in the world. And in the red and white colours from Androni Giocattoli, that is Mattia Vial, a team that has had so much success already in this race with 3 stage victories. 1 for Marco Benfatto and 2 for Matteo Pellucci. They've now built up an advantage of 31 seconds. From that leading contingent of 5 riders, the best placed in the overall standings is Samalau from the Minx team in the pink and blue colours at 48 seconds behind the orange jersey of Dylan Kennett. And despite that, it's not Kennett's teammates from St. George Continental doing the chasing. It's the Israel Cycling Academy, the teammates of Matthias Brandl, who's in 2nd position overall. They believe clearly that they've got the horsepower to distance Dylan Kennett the next time up the climb. But the previous ascension, we saw Kennett not really under any pressure at all. This is the Buddha's Palace, which is one of the most popular tourist destinations in this beautiful region of Zhejiang, and it's one of the largest Buddhist pieces of architecture in this region. The whole palace cost some 4 billion yuan to build. Within it is an enormous sleeping Buddha sculpture right in the center of that palace. From the top, you also get a beautiful view out across the lush green rolling mountains. In stark contrast to the aggression of the racing that we're now seeing on stage 5. Rocher it is who's at the front. The young Frenchman is doing exactly the same as what he did on this stage last year. When he came here last year, Remy Rocher, it was basically an audition for the team. He hadn't signed a contract with the team as yet. He was here on a test run to see whether they liked the way he went about it, and indeed they did. They signed him up for 2 seasons. And number 36 is back in the thick of the action once again. He's pretty talkative too. He's encouraging his teammates. Now it's Volgranov who is at the front, number 132 from the inCycling team. Matteo Vial just holding on at the back of this group from the Androni Giocattoli team. Young Italian who joined that squad midway through last season. 24 seconds their advantage to the Peloton. In many respects, this is a good position for Brandl and Sevillier as it gives them something to chase. If they launch a big attack, they can potentially bridge across and they've got something to work with. But they really need to start to make a move. The longer they just ride tempo, the better it is for the orange jersey, Dylan Kennett. So far, they're playing into the Kiwis' hands. 25 seconds now the advantage for the leading group of 5. The speed is really starting to heat up within the Peloton, and it's the Israel Cycling Academy team who are applying the pressure. They have 3 riders inside the top 10 overall, and St. George Continental with Michael Vink towards the front, so too the orange jersey. This is a strong statement. Dylan Kennett is riding in a perfect position. He's right at the front. Boris Vallet's not too far behind. Matteo Paolucci is there in the green jersey, and there's no movement from the Colombian squad at Medellin. They said they were going to attack, but they just don't appear to have the legs. Number 11, this is Marco Benfato. He's been a stage winner so far. He was second on the stage yesterday. Rocher now on his own. He would have been hoping to have at least one rider with him. His teammate now, sitting at the front of that group, needs to just perhaps back things off, look to the others to do the chasing. Let Remy build up his advantage. He's yet to win a professional race, Remy Rocher, and this is the way he needs to win one. Solo. He's not much of a sprinter. He'd be the first to admit that, but he is an outstanding climber. The big challenge is how far it is from the top of this climb when they go past the Zhejiang observation deck, then down to the finish line. It's still a long way from there before they get to the finish line. I'd estimate that he'd need an advantage of around about 1 minute from that observation deck, perhaps even more, to be able to survive all the way through to the finish. So the team cars all lining up behind the Peloton. The green neutral vehicle, they're all Skoda cars that are lining up behind the Peloton. All the teams, they get exactly the same car, the Skoda Octavia, which are the official vehicles that are used by the Tour de France, the Volta de España, also Paris-Roubaix, and a car that has become synonymous with cycling. The pink and black colours of St George Continental. They are proving themselves to be a lot more than what is known as a Continental team, which is the 3rd division of world cycling. They are racing like they belong a lot higher up the pecking order than that. Now that it starts to go downhill, this is surprisingly to the disadvantage of Remy Rocher. The longer the climb had been, the better it would have been for the Frenchman. One of the best results that he's had so far throughout his career was at 5th place last year in the Tour of Almaty. It was a race that was won by the Italian Davide Viella. Past the observation deck for the main peloton. And the orange jersey still appears to be there. This is Oscar Sevilla at the front, perhaps leaving his run a little bit too late. The clouds are starting to roll in here at the finish line and the wind is picking up. The weather conditions so far throughout this year's race have been perfectly calm. Remy Rocher holding on to a 33-second advantage. It wasn't Chris Froome who invented this position of sitting across the top tube and pedaling down on descent, but he did make it famous when he did that across the top of the Col de Peyresourde in the Tour de France a few years ago, and he went on to win the stage. Maciej Mohoric also did that to great effect at the World Championships in 2013 in Florence when he won the under-23 world title. This is Remy Rocher. 31st position overall, 55 seconds behind, but it's not the general classification that I don't think Remy Rocher is really targeting today. It's more the stage victory that he is hunting, looking to get his first professional win. And as you can see, he's on the standard issue team bike for Delco Marseille. He's riding the white look bike, unlike what we saw from Joseph Adaruya, who was on a grey Ridley. So there was clearly something wrong with his team bike. What's the plan now for the Israel Cycling Academy team inside the last 30 kilometres? Rocher out in front on his own. He'd like a little bit of company. You can see by that glancing over the shoulder, he's resigned to the fact that by himself, it's unlikely that he'll be able to hold off the charging peloton. So he's just hedging his bets, backing off the pedals ever so slightly and waiting to see what happens with his former breakaway companions. This is Daniel Churik now at the front. He was awarded the most combative prize 2 days ago. Now number 112, that you can see, the big tall figure from the Colombian team at Medellin. This is Walter Vargas. He crashed at around about the 50 kilometre to go mark as they approached the climb for the first time. Number 32 from Delco Marseille, that's Simon Carr, a teammate of Remy Rocher. And Remy has realised he's about to be caught by the rest of that breakaway group, and this, in many respects, is good news for Remy Rocher. They can now work together and they stand more of a chance of being able to build up a defendable advantage. Just the 3 teams represented: Minx, Delco Marseille and Androni Giocattoli. Matteo Viel is the rider who is on his own from Androni Giocattoli. He's the man that now slips to the back of this group. Belarusian outfit, the Minx team, they're the men at the front. The rider with the white shoes at their head is the former Russian national champion, that is Eduard Vorganov. who spent 10 years of his career riding with the Katusha team. Season 2020, Katusha will be merging with the Israel Cycling Academy team, giving Israel Cycling Academy the opportunity to step up to the World Tour and an automatic selection into the Tours of France, Italy and Spain and all the other big one-day races. And now Tom Hubbard is back at the front of the peloton for St. George Continental. This has been an outstanding performance by the entire St. George Continental team. No doubt Brett Dutton, their team manager, will be in the team car rubbing his hands together with delight. He won't be doing the cliche count the chickens before they hatch, but he will start to feel very optimistic about the chances of Kennett holding on to orange. Down to just 14 seconds now, the advantage for the leading group of 5 riders. Stage 5 of the Tour of Taihu Lake, and it's a breakaway group of 5 with an 18-second advantage over the peloton. 2 riders from the Belarusian Minsk cycling team. The man at the front is Eduard Vorganov, followed by his teammate Branislav Samolau, who was the best placed overall from this contingent, having started the day at 48 seconds behind. The rider in the red and white colours from the Androni Giocattoli team, that is Matteo Vial. He's the sole rider from that team in the breakaway. And then at Dalco Marseille, they have 2 riders in the move. It is Joseph Araruya from Rwanda. He was the man to start the breakaway. And the young Frenchman, Remy Rocher, who is an outstanding climber. Back in the peloton, it's Tom Hubbard, who is on the front for St. George Continental. Behind him is a host of riders in the light blue and white colours of the Israel Cycling Academy team. And they're trying to work out a way that they can put the orange jersey, Dylan Kennett, under pressure. But Kennett has shown no signs of cracking. He has looked infallible throughout the stage, and he sits comfortably in around 10th position in the peloton, right behind the men from the Israel Cycling Academy in the blue and whites. Kennett has outperformed 2018 when he was dropped on this corresponding stage, and he conceded 39 seconds. And this year, the stage coming on stage 5 theoretically makes it more difficult than last year when it came on stage 2, and Kennett's legs would have been just a little bit fresher. 38 riders made it through to contest the sprint finish last year on this corresponding stage, and it was the Colombian sprinter Juan Sebastian Milano who won the stage ahead of Boris Vallet. Vallet is in the race once again this year, the defending champion of the general classification. He sits in 4th position overall at 34 seconds down. And one rider in the purple colours from Burgos BH, desperately trying to scurry across. This is Ricardo Viala, the rider from Portugal, who's managing to bridge the gap. And given the fact that he's been able to ride across by himself, it shows how tenuous the advantage is for this breakaway. If the rest of the peloton, they get their teams organised, they can close down this advantage pretty quickly. Viala, he's had quite a bit of success in China. Last year he rode the Tour of Taihu Lake, where he finished in 8th position overall. He was part of the Burgos BH team that had so much success in this year's Vuelta a España. They collected a stage victory. They also managed to hold on to the King of the Mountains jersey for some 16 days with Angel Madrazo, who was one of the first riders to attack on today's climb when the main peloton went up there for the first time. What was 5, it now becomes 6. Remy Rocher at the front. And the most talkative in this group is the 22-year-old Frenchman, Remy Rocher. He's the youngest guy in this group, but he is the most vocal. He really wants them to succeed. Today's stage has been the slowest of the race so far, and that's not surprising given the terrain, but it's also been the slowest in terms of being behind the race schedule. And that's working out pretty well for the current race leader, Dylan Kennett. He spoke before the start of the stage saying that he hopes that he can get to the bottom of the climb each time with a fairly contained sort of a race, and his wishes thus far have been granted. This is Samuel now rolling through to the front. He's ridden with some of the biggest teams in the world. He had a long stint with the Quick Step squad. Then it was with Movistar, the team out of Spain. Then a short stint with the Polish outfit CCC. This is his first season with the men in the pink and blue colours, the Minx team of Belarus. The green for the forest, the yellow for the blessings, and the blue for the river and the lake that runs through the area. Tom Hubbard at the back, number 162. He has been a tower of work for St. George Continental. He has done so much of the pacemaking throughout this year's race. I thought when he was almost dropped the first time up the climb, that'd be the last time we'd see Tom Hubbard. But he's defied the odds. He clawed his way back, and he's kept on working at the front. Chance to really observe the gap between that breakaway group and the peloton. 27 seconds. It's a fair bit of distance on the road when they're riding at these speeds. The orange colours of the Nippo Vini Fantini team also now contributing to the pacemaking, as they have Emilio Cima in this group. Cima is relatively easy to spot because he wears the blue jersey as the leader of the Best Young Rider classification. Competition, he leads by just 1 second ahead of Blake Quick. And Blake Quick, he rides for the St. George Continental team. He's been doing the lead-outs in the sprints for Dylan Kennett. And if Dylan Kennett works out that he's still in this group at the end, I wonder if Kennett will try and somehow support Blake Quick to get that 1 second and have a top 3 finish to be able to get the time bonuses required to move into the blue jersey, so the team can then have 3 out of the 4 jerseys. The blue for Best Young Rider, the green for the points classification, and the orange for overall. And Blake Quick is in this group. The wind telling the story about the potential opportunity for somebody in that peloton to ride hard on the right-hand side of the road. The wind going from the left to the right. If the Israel Cycling Academy team put the rest of the race deep into that right-hand gutter, just give the riders from their team a little bit of shelter, it can be an opportunity to force a bit of a split in the peloton. But they're not doing it. They're staying right in the middle of the road. They're giving everybody else a fair bit of shelter. And again, that plays into the hands of everybody else in the race. This is at the back of the peloton. Cross tail wind, so they're moving along here at speeds of more than 50 kilometers per hour. This is Tom Hubbard at the back, number 162. As they're about to start climbing once again. Does Israel Cycling Academy have one last trick up its sleeve to be able to fire? They need to go all guns blazing on every little ramp that is still to come if they're to stand any chance of getting Matthias Brandl back into the orange jersey that he took on the opening stage with the 5.5 kilometre individual prologue. And the rider who is third in line, second of the men in the white and blue colours, that's Turik. He's very talkative when he's in a breakaway. Talkative as well when he's at the front of the peloton. Our leaders now at just 19 seconds in front of the peloton with 21.2 Ks to go. Down to just a 10-second lead now for the breakaway group of 6. The peloton is breathing down their neck. They're a little bit behind the original race schedule. The tempo has been slightly slower than anticipated throughout today's stage. This is Joseph Araruya at the back of the group, the rider from Rwanda, current national time trial champion. He won his national tour of Rwanda a couple of years ago. In fact, 2 years ago. That was in 2017 that he took out that title. This year he became the first rider from Rwanda to ride Paris-Roubaix. Perhaps the most celebrated, but also the most feared of the big one-day races. The rider in the purple colours rolling through to the front. That is Ricardo Viala, rider from Portugal. As the attack goes once again from Remy Rocher, he's not happy with this group. They're cohesive, but just not quick enough, so he wants to light things up. Mateo Vial is the one rider who is able to go with him. It looks like Vorgranov, number 132, is the first to pay the heaviest of prices. And the group of 6 is pretty quickly being halved, as Samalau is also being dropped, and Vial looked as if he was almost there. Remy Rocher is clearly one of the best climbers in this race. They just about got on his wheel. At Remy Rocher, he's able to just maintain that tempo. And you can see he's riding a fairly small gear, really high cadence, flicking the pedals over. The momentum drops ever so slightly. Up a gear, out of the saddle, back on top of the cadence. Find the fresh rhythm. This is a problem at the back of the race. This is Jetzer Bol, the Dutchman on the Spanish team. And this can spell doom for Jetzer Bol. The amount of time that he's losing inside the last 20 kilometres, it could be too much for him to be able to chase back down. He's just stuck in the middle of the peloton. He's putting his hands up to let the other riders know that he's coming to a grinding halt. His gear has gotten jammed, and now he's only just managed to get the push off. It's highly unlikely that he'll be able to rejoin the front of the race, and if he does, the energy that he's spent, he'll pay a heavy price for. And perhaps it will be a glass of vino for Remy Rocher to celebrate his first ever professional victory if he can hold off the charging peloton. The Frenchman has been super aggressive at the back end of the race. He joined the breakaway, he worked with them, he attacked them. He was then caught by them once again, continued to work. He's now on the charge with 18 kilometres still to race. Back in the peloton, the orange jersey of Dylan Kennett. He is defending and defending well. Number 41 now being dropped. This is Itamar Einhorn. He was a rider that started the stage well placed in the overall standings in 16th position, but the focus has very much been on the hopes of Matthias Brandl being able to claw back his 27-second deficit on the race leader, Kennett. So Einhorn is done for the day. He now tunes into race radio to hear the results. Rocher finds his rhythm. More attacks from the peloton. The Medellin team now going on the charge. This is a more serious move. It's Brandel in second position. Sevilla is in third spot. This is the moment they put their cards on the table. And they have opened up a gap. This really needs to catch the attention of the St. George Continental team. They need to get organised and get organised in a hurry. Oscar goes straight on through to the front. This is his moment. Viella and Arroyo have got the box seat as they watch and they admire the performance of the oldest man in the race at 43, Oscar Sevilla, taking this battle for orange by the scruff of the neck. Remy Rocher, now he's got his rhythm. You see that vehicle, that black car, has just pulled off to the left-hand side of the road to clear things out, to make sure there are no obstructions and also no stepping stones to make things easier. Sevilla accelerates again. Brandel, number 42, desperately trying to stay with him. Loyola is the teammate from Medellin who is with him. Now we look back down upon the peloton to see who is doing the chasing. And it shouldn't be the light blue and white colours of Israel Cycling Academy, because they've managed to move Matthias Brandel to the front with Oscar Sevilla. Big reaction though is now starting to come. This is Remy Rocher. He's about to be caught by Oscar Sevilla, who has dropped Matthias Brandel. The peloton is trying to close in. It's the purple colours of Burgos BH. Angel Madrazo is amongst those trying to do the chasing. Big peloton still in contention. Sevilla with a look of encouragement across to Remy Rocher. He needs that little bit of company for Oscar Sevilla to stand any chance of being able to claw back his 40-second deficit on Dylan Kennett. He needs Remy Rocher to stay with him. And there's Madrazo in purple. Stage winner from this year's Volta a España. He's working his way across. And last year, Madrazo was a teammate of Remy Rocher. And Rocher can't maintain the pace. He's now been dropped by Oscar Sevilla, and it is the Israel Cycling Academy team from the peloton which is doing all the chasing. Madrazo joins Oscar Sevilla. And Madrazo will work two Spaniards together out in front. Yesterday's stage winner, Palucci, now under serious pressure. Bailin Jun, the red jersey, well, he's done well just to be in this group. He was dropped with 40 kilometres remaining, and I didn't think we'd see him again. But somehow he fought his way back to the peloton, and he's still trying to defend his lead as the best Chinese rider in the race. It's all still to play for in the fight for red. Oscar Sevilla, he's been joined by Madrazo. He's not expecting him to work. He wants him to stay there. He wants him to stick with him. And then once they get over the top, then they can potentially work together. Now the challenge is for the St. George Continental team to stay calm, not panic. They know there's still a fair way to go from the top of the climb. And it's just two riders out in front. And they have a 40-second advantage in the overall standings to be able to defend. Sorry about the little bit of picture breakup. Oscar Sevilla, though, very much as expected, is the rider who is attacking. 16 kilometres remaining. Oscar would like this climb to be a little longer than it is. But there is the Jurong observation deck, and it can't come quite quick enough for Dylan Kennett. When he sees that, he'll breathe an ever so slight sigh of relief and then hope that he can get his teammates around him organised and on with the chase. And it looked like it was black and pink colours of St. George Continental at the front of the peloton doing precisely that. Communication of the time gaps will be important as well. as they provide either morale or quite the opposite. Remy Rocher is stuck somewhere in the middle. The helicopter searching for Oscar Sevilla and Angel Madrazo. Two riders with the best reputation in the mountains within this race. And at the back of the peloton, they're just thinking about surviving. There's Madrazo, still looking across the shoulder in the purple colours. He hasn't contributed to any of the pacemaking at the front. And a mechanical problem for one of his teammates. This is Ricardo Viella, the Portuguese rider from Burgos BH, who unfortunately was in the breakaway just moments ago, has now got a rear wheel puncture. For the first time, we see Madrazo roll through and share the pacemaking with Oscar Sevilla. And not for too long, Oscar Sevilla really quickly straight back over the top of Angel Madrazo. And number 33 coming into the picture. This is Alexander Delaterre, the young Frenchman. He's yelling out to the two out in front, making the call, wait for me, I'll work. We can be a good combination. And it's not a bad move. It's good news for Oscar Sevilla. The three of them working together could be the difference. Oscar needs 40 seconds to get the orange leaders jersey. In fact, a little bit less than that, because the time bonuses will now start to come into play. As the other riders he's with, Madrazo started the day at 1 minute and 2 seconds down overall. Alexander Delaterre started the day at 1 minute and 15 seconds down in the general classification. So this is a good situation for Oscar Sevilla, number 111, sprinting over every little rise. Just a 7-second advantage. It's not enough. If he gets 30 seconds and wins the stage, the 10-second time bonus, that will give him the 40 to move him to equal first position, and then it will come down to the split seconds of the prologue, but then there's the time bonuses tomorrow. Plenty of conversation within this group. Angel Madrazo in the purple colours. Got himself a Sony games console as a result of winning stage 4. He'd been nagging his wife for one for the past 18 months or so. She'd been resisting because she didn't want the kids to be playing on the console. But with that stage victory at the Vuelta, Sony fronted up at the stage start 2 days later, and he got his wish. It looks like Oscar Sevilla is surrendering. He realizes that that is not going to be enough. They're about to be caught. And it is St. George Continental on the front. And the orange jersey of Dylan Kennett is there. He's done a brilliant job. Fantastic climbing by Kennett. He has significantly outperformed his ride from 1 year ago. 24 years of age, the progress continues. As I said last year, it's worth a team like Delco Marseille or Wanty Group Goubert to take a punt on Dylan Kennett. He can win prologues and he can win sprint finishes. He's proven that throughout this year's Tour of Taihu Lake. And he's beaten guys of the calibre of Matteo Pellucci, who spent a few seasons at the Bora Hansgrohe team, riding alongside Peter Sagan. And number 61, Emilio Cima, he's kept himself in this group. He's a contender for stage honours today. What we do know about Cima is he's prepared to take the risks. 163, the orange jersey, Dylan Kennett. He will be delighted with how he has ridden today. There aren't many sprinters having survived in this group at all. The St. George Continental team, including Kennett, they still have 4 riders in this group. A team that's done really well is the Novo Nordisk team. They look like they've got huge numbers at the front. You see the dark blue colours all lined up. They've got just about their entire contingent in this group, the Novo Nordisk team. Their colours are really similar to the Colombian outfit of Medellin, but the team that is changing the understanding of diabetes have done really well to keep big numbers in this leading contingent. St. George Continental in command at the front of the peloton, followed then by Israel Cycling Academy. Matthias Brandl, he was there with Oscar Sevillier. If he had been able to survive with the Spaniard over the top of the climb, that was his chance potentially to put the orange jersey under some genuine pressure. Matthew Zenovic coming through to the front. Michael Vink is also in this group. Next attack coming this occasion, it's the under-23 Colombian national champion. This is Harold Tejada. It's a grimace. It's another little climb. It's another little challenge for the orange jersey. He's not safe yet. He is starting to drift towards the back. Perhaps that was a call to his teammates to just ease up the tempo ever so slightly. More aggression at the head of the peloton. Wanty Group Goubert also trying to get into the thick of the action. They've been relatively quiet this year by comparison to last season, where they had the leader's jersey for a large portion of the race on the shoulders of Boris Valet, who went on to win the race overall. And that was despite not winning a stage. Tejada, who next year will be riding with the Astana squad, one of the biggest teams in the world. Similar sized group to what we saw 12 months ago, perhaps a little bit bigger, but that doesn't say that today's stage was any easier than what it was last year. I think that this year's race, there's more depth than what there was last year. It's a slightly better quality field than what it was in 2018. And at this point, any of the teams with a sprinter still in contact will be doing all they can to nullify those breaks. And it's a really fast run down towards the finish line. The orange colours that you see at the front of the peloton, that's the Nippo Vini Fantini team. They're the teammates of Amirio Chima. They're desperate to put Chima in with a chance to collect the stage win. Lozano now closing it down for Novo Nordisk. They've been doing reasonably well in the sprint finishes. They've had Andrea Perron, the Italian sprinter, on that team. There's Kennan. He's got Kavanagh just in front of him. That's been a smart move for Kavanagh to drop back and ride with Kennan just to make sure that he's well protected. This is Daniel Turig now at the front, the rider from the Czech Republic in the light blue and white colours of the Israel Cycling Academy team. But once again, St. George Continental, they roll through to the front, control the tempo, calm everything down. They're riding at the sort of speed that nullifies any of the attacks, but is at a tempo that Kennett is comfortable to contend with. And you can see he's now got two teammates back there with him. The orange jersey, he's surrounded by two teammates and they're protecting him brilliantly. They're riding like a World Tour squad at this point. It's been an outstanding defense of orange. This looks like it might well be Matthias Brandl now who's trying to go off the front. It is Brandl, the time trial specialist. Quickly closed down. again. St. George Continental in control. But they cannot possibly chase every single attack, can they? Or maybe they can. This time at Daniel Churik. He's at 42 seconds behind. And for St. George Continental, as then there's the counter-attacks, that gives them the opportunity perhaps to get in the slipstream of somebody else to then close things down. Make the most of other teams' ambitions. Medellin now on the attack. Once again, it's the Colombians. The Euler it is that is now making the move. He looks underneath the armpits, and at 45 kilometers per hour, it's still not enough to open up a significant advantage. It is quick from here through to the finish line. We saw last year Ben Hill tried to break away, and he was doing speeds of 50 to 55 kilometers per hour and got swamped with 100 meters remaining, and then all the sprinters just came over the top of him. He still ended up finishing inside the top 10 on the stage, but it was Milano who won the stage. And Burgos, after that mechanical problem, number 141, he was by the side of the road for a long time, has rejoined the front of the race, and the former Greek national champion is in with a chance to win the stage. And now St. George Continental, a little bit of the hand signals at the front. Not just thinking about defending the orange jersey, now they must be starting to think about winning the stage with Dylan Kennett, who's proven to be one of the fastest sprinters in the race. Kennett just shrugs his shoulders as he looks across to Daniel Churik. Go attack all you like. I'm just going to sit here, wait for the sprint finish, and see if I can make it stage win number 2. Burgos in conversation with one of the race commissaires. He wants his team car. He still looks like he's dealing with some sort of a mechanical problem, but the race official is indicating that we're too close to the finish line. You're going to have to survive with what you've got. It's been a super effort just to get back. Dennis Van Winden now with the 3/4 length arms off to the left-hand side of the screen. Kennett in orange patrolling the front of the peloton. Oscar Sevillier, one more attack. The man who he expected to challenge Kennett on the climb. He tried, he did open up a gap, but it wasn't a big enough margin really. He only got out to a lead of about 12 or 13 seconds. Big numbers at the back of the group for the Wanty Group Goubert team. All the riders with the bright yellowish helmets on. Perhaps they can get Boris Valet up to the front. Turik rolls through. Oscar Sevillier with the white helmet on takes a look across the shoulder. Another futile attempt to try and break away just inside the last 5 kilometers. The peloton all together, and Kennett has survived the climbs. With the time bonuses on offer at the end of the stage, no gap having opened up, Kennett will still be orange barring incident by the end of the stage. He has ridden brilliantly. Just outside 4 kilometres to go on stage 5, the Tour of Taihu Lake, the queen stage of the race, the climb that was expected to challenge the race leader Dylan Kennett. He has been up to the task, and he now finds himself as the favourite to win the stage. He's had 3 second place finishes, he's had 1 stage victory, and yesterday was, if you can call it this, his worst result of the race. He finished in 5th position, and that's why he has such a commanding lead in the race for the green jersey ahead of Matteo Bellucci. Yesterday's stage winner, Matteo Bellucci, he is no longer in contact with this group. At least he was dropped on the climb. I haven't seen him be able to work his way back into the group. Amongst the sprinters in this group, the blue jersey, Emilio Cima, he is certainly here. Back of the group, even sitting at the back of the group with 4 kilometres to go, you are still a chance to win the stage because the group is relatively small, the road surface is perfect, and it opens up inside the last 2 kilometres, and it's a really quick run down to the finish line. Super performance by the entire team of St. George Continental today. And the Nero Sottoli team also riding up towards the front. Paccioni may well still be in this group. They're the team in the fluoro colours sitting in 2nd position. The navy blue colours, that is the Novo Nordisk team. They're looking for Perron, their Italian sprinter. He's still in contention within this group. Penova is there for the Burgos BH team in purple. Adjusting to the shoes at the back. This could be Tejada, number 116, contemplating an attack at perhaps the 1 kilometre to go mark and trying to catch everybody by surprise. And it looked like that might have been the big figure of Brenton Jones from Delco Marseille. They've had Remy Rocher consistently on the attack. Jones hasn't been spotted, but I think I just saw him within this group. So he is in with a chance. This is Etienne Van Impel now who is on the front for the Nero Sottoli team. St. George Continental working for yet another stage victory for Kennett. He's waiting patiently in the relative comfort of the peloton. Jones is in this group. He is in the light blue and white colours with the navy blue shorts on the right-hand side of the screen, 3rd in line from that team. He's got a rider in pink behind him. And for the Nero Sottoli team, 2nd in line for them with the yellow on the shoulders, that is Matteo Bevilacqua. He could be their big prospect to potentially take stage honours. Esquerra for the Burgos team. There is Kennett in orange. He's in the box seat to make it stage win number 2. He has climbed out of his skin today. It's been a huge performance on the hill. Now he's a picture of concentration, looking for yet another stage victory. He's got himself just ever so slightly boxed in. And now the Neri Sottoli team, they're starting to wind this up really early. They're going a long way out, trying to create a little bit of clean air for their sprinter, who's stuck a long way back and now trying to come around the outside. The blue jersey is Emilio Cima. He's looking for a wheel to pick up to try and improve his position. And now also the Israel Cycling Academy team. They've got Mikael Ram, who's been in the thick of the action. Coming round the outside in the the green fluoro helmets. It's the team of last year's winner, Boris Valet. They're on the left-hand side of the screen. They've got 4 riders here to do the lead-out for Boris Valet. The orange jersey, he's slotted himself onto the wheel of the blue of Cima, and Kennett is fighting for positions. It's slightly downhill at this point, and it is super quick. Monty Group Goubert as Valet gets caught in traffic. Cima in the blue jersey. He's been stalked by Kennett, who is then followed by Jones. Valet finds himself a little bit of breathing space. His teammates now start the lead out. Cima in blue. He sticks in the slipstream of his lead out man. He's now waiting. Now it's Cima who goes. Kennett in orange. Today he hasn't just defended. He's done more than that, but it's Jones who's coming over the top. Valet is challenging, but it's Jones who wins. On the day where his teammates did all the attacking on the climbs, Jones gets the victory. The congratulations from Kennett. And likewise in return for Kennett surviving the climb.
Yes!
You can feel the adrenaline of Jones.
Thanks. Good job. Bigger.
Boris Fillet, all class, one of the first to congratulate him. So too Giuseppe Fonzi.
Yes.
The Delco Marseille team, they were one of the most aggressive, particularly number 36, Remy Rocher. Jones got over the top of the climb and managed to take stage honours. But Dylan Kennett was the biggest story of the day.
Good job, boys. Yes. Bien. Très bien, toujours. Dans le finale. Yeah. Très bien.
And once again, it was tight across the line, but Jones knew he was there. It looks like Valet in second.
Okay, then no worries. We'll try to get the winner as well after this.
And
We'll get to it as soon as
Kennett's in third. Felt like there might have been a little bit of frustration from the previous sprint finishes for Brenton Jones. An important victory, a nice way for him to be able to end the season. Let's now get down to Mark Falahy with the winner.
Effort today, you retained the race lead. You looked infallible. Yeah, how proud of you of today's performance?
Yeah, super stoked. Like, I've been thinking about this for 12 months ever since I just couldn't go with the front last year. So, we had a team meeting last night, and we were all confident I could get done. But you never know because of last year, and there's extra lap this year up the hill. And the boys they waited for me, stayed with me on that last night up the hill, and it really gave me confidence. And I'm just so stoked to pull it off. And then to rally like we did at the end there to make sure it all stayed together was great. And I didn't have the leg to stay at the saddle for the sprint finish, so it's good to get some green jersey points there too. Hopefully that's got that sewn up, but it's good to see Brendan win as well. Brendan, that was bloody good effort because he's a big boy to go over that hill, so it's good to see someone guts it out and get the rewards.
You talked this morning how it was going to be crucial early that you retained some energy, preserve energy for the final. Were you surprised that no one didn't try to split it up early?
Well, I think because we had the Israel boys there on our wheel, like if anyone tried anything, you got guys like Brandel, it's probably going to make you pay for trying to play up. So I think that helped us, and the boys just rode it well, and we kept that cool, let the break get out to a big lead, and it meant that I had fresh legs before we started the circuit, and so it went to plan pretty much perfectly, yeah.
17 kilometres to go under the climb. There's Oscar launched an attack. Matthias had a go as well, but you obviously didn't panic.
Oh, there's no use panicking if you can't go with it. So I just rode as hard as I could, and I was whimpering to Michael Vink, I'm still here. I'm pretty close to the front. Like, come back for me. And it was, and I had the other boys around me too. So if one guy gets away, and as long as I stay close enough to Israel and my teammates, then there's going to have to be Superman to stay away. And I could have pulled as well. So it's just as long as like 5 or 6 of them didn't get away, then there would be real trouble. But you can't really panic when a group goes if you can't go with it. So you just got to go as hard as you can. So to be honest, I didn't even know that he attacked because I couldn't. I was just looking at the wheels in front. Yeah.
Just finally, you're not one of the bigger teams here, but you rode like a pro tour team today. You must be very proud.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Like I think 4 of the boys all work full-time jobs. So that's what I was saying to the guys last year. The other riders here last year, I was telling Monty and making my guys to work. I said these guys do 12 hours on the bike a week because they all work jobs. So and I'm in the track team, so we don't do a lot of Ks. So this tour suits us being short, but it's still a big task trying to keep these top teams in check. So I'm really proud of the boys, and I'm sure Brett's bloody stoked.
Congratulations. Go on, enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you.
Huge performance by Dylan Kennedy, finished in 4th position on the stage, so more points there in the race for the green jersey. These riders that are still making their way through to the finish of today's stage, and he mentioned Brenton Jones, a big boy, to make it over the top of that climb. And although it was 4th today, and we've seen Dylan win a stage and he's collected 3 second place finishes, I'd make the argument that today's 4th place finish was his best performance of this year's race, because that was a tough climb. Brenton Jones won the stage, Boris Valet was in 2nd position, it was Emilio Chima in 3rd place. And for Dylan Kennedy, did have his team around him, and as you heard, he spoke about the fact that he told Michael Vink, I'm still here. You can come back and support me if need be. Michael Vink was the 2nd best placed rider from the St. George Continental team in the general classification. And if things did go pear-shaped for Kennett, it was Vink that you'd assume would have gotten the green light to go to try and collect the orange jersey and at least keep it within the team. But in the end, that wasn't required. And Oscar Sevilla, he tried, he threw his hat in the ring, he made the attempt to try and get off the front. There were just not enough climbers strong enough to go with him to really put Kennett under enough pressure to crack the Kiwi, and he holds on to the orange jersey. Let's take a look back at how Stage 5 unfolded. After the gun went off, it was a brief neutral section before the flag dropped to get the stage officially underway. 121 kilometres Stage 5, the Queen stage of the race, because of those closing circuits with the climb to contend with. Nervous start in many respects for the orange jersey, but it wasn't seen on the outside because the team was so calm, allowing a breakaway group of 6 at one point go out to an advantage of some 3.5 minutes. At the intermediate sprint, it was Mazur from the Minx team that collected the maximum 3 second time bonus and the 5 points in the race for the green jersey. Both of those insignificant in the overall classification of the race. Back in the peloton, Matthias Brandl then had a conversation with his team sports director and spoke about the fact that break is out at almost 4 minutes. We need to catch them if we're to stand a chance to win the race overall. As they headed through the second intermediate sprint, once again it was Mazur who picked up the maximum time bonus, and Israel Cycling Academy joined St. George Continental to contribute to the chasing of the breakaway. As they got onto the circuits and onto the climb, the leading group of 6 slowly saw their advantage dwindle. Tom Hubbard was doing a lot of the work at the front of the main peloton, saving the rest of the resources to support Kennett for the back end of the stage. Then as the peloton was about to hit the base of the climb for the first time, there was a fall in the peloton amongst the victims. Walter Vargas from the Medellin team, the Colombian squad, who we were all waiting to see if they were really going to light things up on the major hill of the day. Nung was the rider from Hong Kong, who was also delayed by the fall. The Buddha sat calmly with the Lao Xin statue, the biggest statue to Lao Xin, as we saw the meeting of Buddhism and Tao culture in the region of Zhurong. The breakaway group eventually reeled back in. They congratulated each other on their efforts out in front, and then there were more attacks to come throughout the closing 45 kilometres. A mechanical problem for the former Greek national champion, Georgios Bourglas. I thought that was the end of his chances, but somehow he returned to the front of the race. Remy Rocher, the Frenchman from the Dalco Marseille team, he was super aggressive at the head of the peloton. The rider who wears number 36 in the orange shoes, he just kept on charging. They only ever, though, got an advantage of 36 or 37 seconds. They weren't given much latitude at all. Also in that breakaway was Branislav Samalau, who started the day at 48 seconds behind, so St. George Continental didn't want to give them too much of an advantage. A mechanical problem for Jet Zabol of the Burgos BH team. came with just on 20 kilometres left to race. Onto the climb for the final time, and it was not surprisingly Oscar Sevilla who was attacking in a big way. He bridged across quickly to Remy Rocher. Matthias Brandl, who started the day in second place overall, tried to stick with him, but the Austrian couldn't maintain the tempo of the Spanish climber. More mechanical problems for the Burgos BH team, as it was Ricardo Viella who had a rear wheel puncture. Eventually, Oscar Sevilla was caught, as St. George Continental were content that they had done well defending the orange jersey. More attacks to come, but they were all nullified by the men in the pink and black colours looking after the orange jersey of Kennett, as Burgos in white got back to the peloton, but still had mechanical problems to try and deal with. It was all happening too late. And in the final dash to the finish line, the orange jersey, Kennett was right in the mix, but it was Jones who came over the top to win the stage ahead of Boris Valle, and Imeria Chima rounded out the top three in third. It was then Kennett in fourth place with Paccioni in fifth position. It was a look of jubilation, and you could feel the adrenaline from Jones when he did go across the finish line. A little bit of frustration perhaps also coming out as his teammates celebrated in the background. Valle close but not quite, second on the stage, just as he was 1 year ago. Just about ready to get the presentations underway. Let's now get down to the winner of the stage, Brenton Jones.
The adrenaline certainly was flowing as you across the finish line. The emotion was there to see. How special was this win today?
Yeah, it's very special. I think for me, I don't have a contract next year, and I want to stay a professional. I want to keep racing my bicycle. That's what I love. It's my passion. So to win today is really important for me, to show that I can still get the job done. And to everyone who thinks I can't win, well, take a look at the results today.
Before the race, was the stage win realistic? Wasn't it objective? Because it was a tough stage, and you did well. You must be proud that you got over that climb.
Yeah, we've got a number of good climbers in our team, and we rode really perfectly today. We had Remy and Joseph attacking in the final. Yuri as well, who's a good Italian little climber and puncher. And for me to have good form today, and I knew from the very start I had good legs, and I knew coming to the finish there I was one of the fastest guys, and I timed it well, and happy to finish it off for the team.
And just talk us through the final few hundred metres. You know, you had some teammates there. They were very aggressive today. Just talk us through the final.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come into the final kilometre, and as I said, Joseph, right of the day for me, he was off the front, and then he was still in the final in the 1K to go, pulling on the front, as well as Alex. We had guys there to support me, and then I chose my wheel wisely in the finish, got behind Kennett, and then timed it perfectly in the finish and got a nice clean run to the line. And
going forward, another opportunity tomorrow. It'd be good to finish with the 2 stage wins.
I think most of my professional victories have come on the final day of a tour, and I think I'm confident tomorrow, but at the same time I'm happy with 1 stage win now, but we'll try again for sure tomorrow and finish off well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
You could clearly hear what it meant to Brenton Jones. Let's now get down to the second place finisher on today's stage, Boris Valle.
Boris, second or third today, you did very well, but how were the conditions early in the race?
Oh, I was feeling more tired. Yeah, from last year. Last year I could attack, follow, and do the race. This year was more easy, I think, the stage, but still on the climb I was going tempo, just keep the Peloton and save energy for the sprint. My team did a great job. We would like to come back too early on the sprint because we don't know it's downhill, and yeah, we have did well, but just I have break a little bit for no crash and come back, and yeah, second it's better. First I like to win, but yeah, second is good.
We're expecting a big showdown on the climb today, a big battle. Was it like you expected it to be?
Yeah, I was opening it will be more hard. It was still hard, but not enough to drop Kenneth. And yeah, we're going to see tomorrow, but I think Kenneth going to win this year the general classman. now we need to fight for the top 10. It's not already done, and tomorrow we need to keep fighting for the bonification or do also the final sprint.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And now the battle will be on for the spots on the podium, and it is quite tight. Boris Valet finds himself moving up towards a top 3 finish. In fact, he is now up into 3rd position overall. Let's now go down to the leader of the Best Young Rider classification, Emerio Chima.
Live television. Emerio, congratulations. Blue jerseys in another day. Yeah, very aggressive today. How was it?
Yeah, I like so much this stage. Yesterday, the last year, I was 4th in the final, and this year 3rd. The blue jersey, another day in a blue jersey. I think I'm going to home with this.
What we love about you is that you race. You're a racer. How much do you love what you do?
Yeah, I like so much this. The last year, a lot of 7, 6, 4, 3rd, 2nd, and there aren't a win, but I think it's near.
Tomorrow is a good opportunity for you. What would it mean to get a victory here before we leave?
Yeah, tomorrow is the last race of the year, and I think it's a good opportunity, and I hope.
Well done.
Thanks.
And he will be tough to beat tomorrow, Emerio Chima. He's full of confidence, 3rd today, as he was last year, and he will be amongst the favourites. It was Brenton Jones, though, who got the win today ahead of Boris Valet. Chima was in 3rd position. Kennett, ever consistent, 4th. Paccioni was in 5th position. The top 5 managed to make it over the climb sprinters that we'll be watching tomorrow. And in the general classification, it's a 27-second advantage for Kennett ahead of Matthias Brandl. Boris Valet moves up to 3rd position, 1 second clear of Mikael Ram. It's then Michael Vink who rounds out the top 5. Emerio Chima in 6th has the blue jersey as the best young rider. The green jersey, that is with Dylan Kennett as the leader of the points classification ahead of Boris Valet. Matteo Paolucci is in 3rd spots. Kennett has 1 day remaining. Chima is in the blue jersey, an 18-second advantage for the best young rider classification. There is 1 stage remaining. Kennett has a significant advantage and a strong team around him. Join us tomorrow to see if the Kiwi can hold on and go out the winner of the 2019 Tour of Taihu Lake. Just about all set for the podium presentation, something that Dylan Kennett could just about organise himself now. He's been at the podium every single day throughout this year's race. The Sapura team getting themselves organised to head off to the next hotel. Race organisation, they do a brilliant job of transferring the riders between the hotels, with the buses organised, the tents that they provide at the stage starts, and normally at the stage finishes as well. Boris Valet in conversation here with Brenton Jones, first and second on today's stage. Valet ever so polite in that post-stage interview. It would be nice to be win, but second was good. Boris Valet will be one of the riders along with Jones and also Emerio Chima that will be watching very closely at the back end of tomorrow's stage. Fairly short stage tomorrow, just 79 kilometres. Pancake flat, perfect for the sprinters. And Brenton Jones, one of the many riders in the professional peloton, still searching for a contract for 2020.
Yeah, thanks. So one more day, though.
Boris Valet saying congratulations for the GC. Kenneth acknowledging one more day to go. Interesting to eavesdrop on that conversation with Dylan Kennett, telling the story of the day about how he survived, got over the top of the climb, then got in the aero position tuck to be able to stay in contact with that peloton. He's been throughout the stages, kicking off with the prologue, second in the prologue, second stage 1, second stage 2, first stage 3, fifth yesterday, fourth today, one stage still to come. His worst result, if you can call it that, has been 5th place, and that came yesterday. It's given him a significant lead in the race for the green jersey. It's a team that has been doing incredibly well. This is the Ningxia team, the team of Bei Linjun, who's been wearing the red jersey throughout this year's race as the leader of the best Chinese rider classification. Also the team of Georges Buglas, who's been in the thick of the action with mechanical problems. Let's now head down to an interview with Edmund Bradbury.
祝贺陈建良能够拿到最佳大中华车手的红色领旗衫，这是你在参加这次环太湖之前就有的目标吗？
就是序幕站完的时候觉得有机会，差5秒嘛，对，然后今天就是算里面最难的，所以昨天就是比较保守，然后就是全力放在今天，对，就是计划。
车队实际还有总成绩排名很高的荷兰的车手 Roy Ifting， 但是还是决定保你的今天的红色领旗衫。车队是在今天比赛过程当中临时做的这样的决定吗？
对，昨天就是开会的时候，就是如果入山之后，如果状态不 OK 的话，我们就是不等他继续走这样，对，换顾那个大中华。是。
那么这次的红衫能够穿下来，在你的职业生涯当中算是很重要的一个荣誉吗？对你来说？
哦，对，算是。 应该是我来车队的第一次的那个领旗衫，所以非常的开心。对，谢谢。
好，谢谢，祝贺你。
Chen Qinglang, he's the new leader of the best Chinese rider classification, so he gets to wear the red jersey tomorrow, a classification that he should be able to defend tomorrow. The Hong Kong team, they've had a pretty tough race so far, one of their riders having to abandon a couple of days ago as a result of a crash on a stage where this man also crashed, but he crashed and slid across the finish line to finish in 11th position. And today he has extended his advantage in the race for the blue jersey as the best young rider. And he's pretty confident he'll be able to defend that tomorrow and win it for the 2nd year running. Won't be too difficult for him to be motivated for tomorrow's stage. He's always motivated, Emerio Chima, but tomorrow is his last race of the season. And he's in pretty good form. He'll be hoping to go out on a high. He's off to a new team in 2020. He's riding for the Gazprom Rusvelo team, a Russian team, leaving the Nippo Vini Fantini squad that he's been with for the past 3 years. Let's take a look back at the last kilometre of today's stage. And it was a real battle for position. As you look to the right-hand side of the road, 3rd in line in the light blue and white colours is Brenton Jones with the navy blue shorts and the little yellow Delco on the side. He's just sitting behind his teammates. It's Joseph Aruya who's leading them at the front, keeps checking across the shoulder. Jones is just slightly boxing at this point, but he's not panicking. He's confident that his teammates are able to do the lead out and provide some open air for him. a little bit more of encouragement as Alexander Delaterre pushes his teammate further out in front. Wanty Group Goubert now coming around the outside, and this again has Brenton Jones somewhat boxed in, but still he stays calm. He lets go of the wheels of his teammates, and he sees that he's got the blue jersey Chima coming up alongside him, and then a little look across, he notes the orange jersey of Dylan Kennett, and he figures that's a good wheel to be on. And Jones forces his way onto the wheel of Dylan Kennett, and that's a wheel that he's not prepared to surrender. A little hip and shoulder to either side of that wheel to make sure that he sticks with Kennett. And then as Kennett starts to open up, Jones is still sticking with him, and then the road clears on his left. He's still in the slipstream of Dylan Kennett, backs off ever so slightly, makes his jump. Boris Valet tries to go with him, but Jones timed it to perfection. And it was a really emotional win for Brenton Jones. You could feel the adrenaline as he went across the line. You can see the expression on the face of Boris Valet was just blank as he crossed in second. And it looked as if the first indication from Jones with the one finger across the lip was a silencing of the critics. And then I am number one. And today, he certainly was. And the all-important embrace with his teammates. He'll be hoping that his teammates with them again next season. This is Emerio Chima, third position on today's stage. Boris Valet had a handful of seconds and third place finishes last year, but no stage win, although he won the race overall. He'll be a sentimental favourite to win tomorrow's stage. The winner of the stage is Brenton Jones.
Now we'll present the medals and the souvenirs to the top 3 riders of today's stage.
Given that it's mid-October, it's a tough position for Brenton Jones to be in, to be trying to find a contract for next year. Certainly won't be a contract with one of the big World Tour teams. They'll all be snaffled up. He'll be looking for a team of a similar level to Dalco Marseille, perhaps a Wanty Group Goubert, maybe a Nippo Vini Fantini style squad. But whoever's playing the role of his manager needs to be on the phone after a day like this where he's collected a stage victory. And he's beaten some quality riders, so this is a good advertisement for Jones and a big chance for him to get a contract for 2020.
有请颁奖嘉宾与运动员合影留念，让我们用热烈的掌声祝贺获奖运动员们。
Congratulations again to the top 3 riders of the stage, Brenton Jones, Boris Valet, and Emerio Chima.
No expression on the face of Emerio Chima. Big smile on the face of Brenton Jones and the always polite Boris Valet. Australia, Belgium and Italy represented on the podium. One more photo.
再次祝贺获得前3名的运动员。
Exactly the same stage placing as 12 months ago for Emerio Chima. He'll be required on the podium once again shortly, collecting the blue jersey as he continues to lead the battle of the Best Young Rider classification. Great respect between Dylan Kennett and Brenton Jones, two bigger men, not noted as being climbers, surviving today's hills.
Orange jersey, which represents the leader of the general classification. Let's welcome to the stage Dylan Kennett from Central.
Dylan Kennett now steps out for this orange jersey. Tomorrow, the orange jersey to claim the race overall, but this one will be the sweetest, surely, of the orange jerseys that he's collected so far. To survive these climbs, the buffer that he's got, he'll be confident he can hold on to it on the final stage.
有请颁奖嘉宾为获奖运动员颁发锐镜头盔和吉祥物。
And it was a huge team performance by St George Continental. It wasn't just about Dylan Kennett. He needed the legs for the climb. But the way the team rode throughout the stage, letting that breakaway go, setting a calm pace throughout the day, nullifying other attacks later on throughout the stage. They never panicked. They did ride as if they were a big budget team, as opposed to being one of the smallest budgeted teams within this race. A lot of credit needs to go to the team manager, Brett Dutton.
接下来颁发上汽斯柯达绿色领旗衫。绿衫是冲刺王的象征，山雨是冲刺之王，谁与争锋？获得南京银行2019第10届。He
knows the process better than anybody else. He's required up on the podium once again. This time for the green jersey as Dylan Kennett leads the points classification.
迪兰·肯内特来自澳大利亚圣乔治州际队。
Now we'll present the SAIC Skoda green jersey, which represents the leader of the points classification. Let's welcome back to the stage, Dylan Kennett from St George Continental Cycling Team.
And you heard Dylan talk post-stage about the team and the amount of guys in the team that work full-time jobs or almost full-time jobs, and the fact that he juggles road commitments with the track as well. He's a rider that you can look forward to watching in action at the Olympic Games next year in Tokyo, providing everything goes according to plan, of course.
有请颁奖嘉宾为获奖运动员颁发锐镜头盔和吉祥物。
And I think he now has an unassailable lead in the points classification.
再次祝贺迪兰·肯内特连续多个赛段能够包揽总成绩成衫和冲刺王绿色领旗衫。
有请颁奖嘉宾稍事休息，有请运动员退场。
And tomorrow the priority will be the orange jersey as opposed to the green jersey. But every step that he takes towards defending the orange jersey is a step towards also defending green. Next up, the blue jersey for the best young rider, Mario Chima. Gentleman with the black t-shirt on and holding the orange helmet with the blue soft toy in it, that is Brett Dutton. Olympic Games bronze medalist and the team manager for St George Continental. Still looks like he's got a little bit of a limp from the crash on stage 2, Emilio Chima, which speaks volumes for his third place finish today.
Now we'll present the blue jersey and the souvenir to Emilio Chima, the third place of today's stage and the winner.
Hopefully a few of the young spectators are inspired to have a go at cycling.
有请颁奖嘉宾为获奖运动员颁发锐镜头盔和吉祥物。
And that little squat that he's doing on tired legs, that can hurt.
有请颁奖嘉宾与获奖运动
The
员
zip, traditionally on the podium presentation jersey, is always at the back of the jersey to make sure all the sponsors at the front, their logos get full exposure. They then get a separate jersey, which is the one that they race in, where the zip goes up the front.
接下来颁发森迪克红色领旗衫，红衫代表大中华最佳车手，山雨是中华之巅，独领风骚。获得南京银行2019第10届环太湖国际公路自行车赛，森迪克巨荣。
Now the new leader of the race for the red jersey. This is Chen coming up to collect.
红衫的运动员是陈建良，来自瑞典米吉亚州队。
Chen Liang for the Mi Miller cycling team.
Which represents the best rider from the Greater China region. And the red jersey after stage 5 goes to Chen Jianliang from Manual Pro Cycling Team.
有请颁奖嘉宾江苏省体育产业集团副总经理钟瑞杰女士。
25-year-old, he rode a solid opening prologue on stage 1 around the 5.5-kilometre course in Wuxi. He then stayed in that main peloton across the climbs today alongside some of the very best in the world, and is now the wearer, the proud wearer of the red jersey, is the best rider from the Greater China region.
再次祝贺陈建良独自在欧洲车队效力的大中华车手，也是。
And there were plenty of riders from this team that we saw near the front of the race at the back end of today's stage. And I was trying to work out whether the Roy